Football fans look forward to Super Bowl Sunday for the game, but they also look forward to it for the music and the star power on and off the field. Usher's halftime performance featured many of his hits, as well as Lil Jon, Ludacris, Alicia Keys, will.i.am, Jermaine Dupri, and her.
And many eyes were on some specific box seats, of course. That's where Taylor Swift was watching the game with a few of her famous friends. Actor Blake Lively, rapper Ice Spice, and singer Lana Del Rey, among others. And then, of course, there was a celebration. After the Chiefs won, Taylor Swift giving tight end Travis Kelce a big hug and a kiss. For more on this, let's bring in Naomi May. She's the acting news editor at LUK. All right, Naomi, let's start out with the halftime show. It makes sense, I guess, that Usher was there, given that he released an album last week. But there were so many cool guests on the stage. I love seeing Alicia Keys. I love them doing My Boo, which is one of my favorite songs of that era. I love seeing her come out blazing with a shredding guitar solo, which I'm told, because I saw a tweet from an Fender master builder, a guy who builds guitars, that they built that guitar for her, like kind of as a last-minute request.
Wow.
That very cool, like, red guitar.
Nice.
And look at Alicia in that red piano with the billowing red flowing robes or whatever that was. What'd you think?
I think it's really interesting. I mean, it might come as no great surprise to you guys, but I'm not the biggest follower of American football. But I think what's really interesting about the Super Bowl is that it's kind of transcended sport to really become this, as you kind of said there, this real pop culture phenomenon. I think Usher's performance got maybe a little bit lost in the noise of everything else that happened last night. I think it was really interesting to kind of compare it to Rihanna's performance last year, which I have a feeling was very much engineered with the mindset as to those performances of her dances and of her kind of going viral. And I think Usher's performance last night was very much engineered at a slightly older audience, just in the way that he kind of performed and danced and the people that he brought out, which I thought was interesting. But I think last night was such a kind of cultural circus and so many things happening. I fear that maybe Usher's wonderful performance got a little bit lost in the noise.
I think that's a really interesting observation, because I wondered, because most of the people that I saw on social media commenting really loved it, but then there were a few people who thought it was boring. And I wondered if the challenge was that you have to entertain both the TV audience and the audience that's there in the stadium. And when you think about Rihanna, she had the platforms all going up and down, and it really was visually appealing. Not just, it must have been amazing if you were there, but it was still really entertaining to watch it on TV. But Usher, I think, struggled a little because we couldn't see like the vastness of what was happening on the field and on the stage and all that sort of stuff.
Although someone did say Rihanna announced her pregnancy at the last year's Super Bowl, and when Usher took his shirt off, America got pregnant. So
Jesus, who said that?
I mean, it was on Twitter. I blame young people.
So you talked about a cultural circus, right? So we got to talk about Taylor Swift. She's surrounded by celebrities in the box, of course. Curious about who she chose to have, kind of access to that box. Oh no, I hope we didn't lose you.
Oh no, we lost Naomi. Oh, she's still there. Okay, they're just taking us full.
We know that Ice Spice was there. So, what do you make of the people that she chose to sort of be there in that special moment?
I think it was really interesting. I think the kind of fusion, and I'm looking at this from a very kind of external perspective. I'm not American, so I don't really have, skin in the game, so to speak. But I think, speaking slightly objectively, her relationship with Travis Kelce is really interesting because it's almost the fusing of these very, on the surface at least, very all-American spheres, which is American football and pop music. And to be honest, I kind of thought it wasn't actually even about the people that she had with her. I think it's just the mere presence of Taylor Swift. She has become such a stratospheric star that she could be sat there in the box on her own. And I think it would make headlines everywhere and people would be extrapolating all of the stories you could ever hope to from a single person, which is just so interesting.
One of the things I want to ask you guys, I've been seeing, there's been this subtle shift that somehow people are over Taylor, that she's sort of oversaturated. And I'm like, I don't see it. Maybe the media thinks that, like people who write about media for a living, you know, but for people who are fans of Taylor Swift, fans of her music, fans of this, you know, match between her and Travis, I don't see people saying that Taylor is oversaturating.
Well, what about the people who aren't her fans?
I mean, they're always going to say that if you're not a fan, right? I mean, what are you hearing, Naomi?
I thought you were going to say, who's not a fan?
You know,
Everyone's a fan.
Everybody's a fan, right?
I think what's really interesting is people love to hate on Taylor Swift. She's undeniably so incredibly influential. It was estimated that last year at each of her era's shows, at each individual show, Swiftie spent an estimated $93 million per show.
Wow.
You cannot dispute. Like, local economies were practically begging her to perform in their towns or cities. There's not a world in which she is not so influential, particularly in the States. I read something really interesting before I came on here that found that 20% of millennials and 24% of Gen Z said that Taylor Swift's influence is making them care about football. Her very presence at the 12 games prior to the Super Bowl is estimated to have generated $300 million in brand exposure for the NFL.
Wow.
I don't know the first thing about NFL, but I would say that's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
That's a brand that really just didn't need a boost.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about Beyonce, but I'm here for this country album, Renaissance 2. Can't wait for it. The commercial announcing it was amazing. Naomi, you're amazing. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.